and level 2 practice. We have a test I've downloaded from the official Eiken website along with just a Word document. We're going to go through some of the questions. I want to do a lot of vocabulary practice because a lot of this is actually about vocabulary. So question 1, June taught his daughter an easy of making ice cream at home with milk, cream, sugar, and maple syrup. There are 4 choices: cure, register, method, slice. So we have to really be able to pick which word is the best first. So that's what I mean. There's a lot of vocabulary practice that's necessary. Let's do number 1, cure. Cure usually means to fix. Now, to fix, in this case, cure means like your body. So a doctor will cure a patient. So that is the same as saying a doctor will fix a patient. When I'm sick, I go to the doctor. He gives me medicine that will fix the problem that I have. That's the easiest way. I don't want to use dictionary definitions because that's going to be too complicated. In a test, you don't want to be thinking that much. You want to be thinking quickly and simply to get the best answer. So cure, to fix. Register. What would be the best way to say it? Sort of means to sign up, to join. I had to register to join the competition. I had to sign up to join the competition. Whoa. So register, usually when we use that word, is when I sign some papers. So I want to join this competition. I want to go with my school trip. Actually, that's maybe better. I had to register to, we'll just make another sentence. I had to register to go on the school trip. So I had to sign some papers to go on the school trip. All right, that's not too bad. Then we have method. And it means way to do. What's a good sentence for method? My method for teaching English is to use Twitch. Whoop. So I go on Twitch and I'm teaching English. That is how I teach English to you, someone I don't know. My way of teaching English is to use Twitch. Okay, now we have one more. It is slice. Slice can mean to cut or a piece of. Let's get that on the next page. So to cut. I had to slice the watermelon. I had to cut the watermelon. And then it also means a piece of. Then I gave a slice of watermelon to my sister. Then I gave a piece of watermelon to my sister. So there's 2 ways to use this. Slice as in, I cut it, or slice, here is a piece. So you could say, I sliced a slice of watermelon. And in English, that actually makes sense. It's not a great sentence, but it actually makes sense. So now if we go back up here, June taught his daughter an easy fix of making ice cream? No. June taught his daughter an easy join of making ice cream? No. June taught his daughter an easy way of making ice cream? That's the right answer. June wrong one. June taught his daughter an easy cut of ice cream? That's not right. So once you have a right answer, you still want to check the other one to make sure that there isn't a better one. Because sometimes the meaning of the 2-3 sentences, sometimes the meaning of the 2 or 3 words are very similar, almost the same. And that's where it's really dangerous, because if 2 or 3 words are almost the same, then it's hard to guess which one. So you want to choose the best word. So those are some sentences for you to look over for number 1 on this sentence. We're going to do 2 or 3 more, and then we're going to move on to the picture cards, because I know that's also very difficult and you have to answer some stuff. So number 2 on the Eiken test, companies these days are making cameras that are small. Some are even smaller than a shirt button. So when they say shirt button, they mean like a button right down there. So we have 4 words again: incredibly, partially, eagerly, and consequently. So let's go through these words, learn what they all mean in the easiest way we can so that you can guess the right meaning. So the first one, incredibly. This is like shockingly, a big surprise. Oh, I've spelled that wrong. Surprise. So I went to the wrestling, pro wrestling, should be that. I went to the pro wrestling show, and the wrestlers were incredibly large. So this is the opposite. You can see I've actually already used a similar sentence to the one in. So that already gives you a hint that incredibly, it's a big surprise. The sentence here, companies these days are making cameras that are incredibly small. It's a surprise how small the cameras are. So let's get that sentence up though. I went to the, good, pro wrestling show, and the wrestlers were surprisingly large. As pro wrestlers, I'm 183 centimeters. So I'm tall, but I'm not crazy. So I'm not scary. But a pro wrestler, they're huge. And then they also have the giant muscles. So when you see one, you see them on TV. It's not a big surprise. When you see one in real life, I should have changed to sumo wrestlers. Sumo wrestlers are 300 kilos. They're 200 centimeters. They are giant. And it's always a really big surprise when you see them the first time. They're incredibly large. Actually, maybe even better. That's more simple. Very, very. Maybe it's easier to understand for students. I went to the pro wrestling show and the wrestlers were incredibly large. I went to the pro wrestling show and the wrestlers were very, very large. That's probably the easier way to remember. And that's one of the things I want to do, is try to make it easy to remember all the words and what they mean. Partially. Partial means not 100%. So this video is partially finished. This video is not 100% finished. We've only done 2 of the words for this question. We have 2 more words to do. We're not finished the video. So partially means not 100%. The next one over here, eagerly. It means I am excited to do, or It's maybe a hard word, but it's a good word. It'll probably come up. Enthusiastic. So I'm excited to do it. I'm enthusiastic. So it's good to learn some other words. Enthusiastic is a kind of word they use in tests all the time. Okay. I eagerly. What am I eager to do? Because I'm very old, so I don't get excited very much anymore. So that's a problem. So eagerly. When do I get most excited? I eagerly pack my things to get ready to go home. So when I finish school or when I finish work, and I have to put my things in my bag, pack my things, put my things in my bag. I'm like, oh, I get to go home. Put my stuff in my bag. Oh, I get to go home. I'm going to go home. I get to leave work. I get to go home from school. Yeah. So that's excited. I'm excited to do that. I excitedly put my things in my bag to get ready to go home. So you can see when I'm getting ready to go home, I'm very happy. I finished work for today. I can go. This is a hard word. Consequently. So it means like result. I'm trying to think of an easy way. Consequently means something that happened because of something. So let's put because of. I spent too much money. Consequently, I didn't have enough money for the train home. I spent too much money. So as a result, because of that. Now that's not a great way to make that sentence. But again, I'm trying to get the idea, not perfect grammar. This is the idea to keep it in your head so you can move quickly if you're doing the test. So because of that, I didn't have enough money for the train home. So I spent too much money. The result of spending too much money, I didn't have enough money for the train home. So that's consequently. It means I did something so that could or couldn't do something else. I studied very hard. Let's do another one because this is a hard sentence. I studied very hard with sounds great English. Ah, there you go. I'm doing a little advertising. Consequently, I got perfect on my Eiken. Isn't that great? So I studied very hard with Sounds Great English. Because I studied very hard with Sounds Great English, I got perfect on my Eiken. I studied very hard with Sounds Great English. I have to learn to say the name of my channel. I studied very hard with Sounds Great English. As a result, I got perfect on my Eiken. Very hard with Sounds Great English. As a result, I got perfect on my Eiken. So let's go back all the way up here. Where were we? Incredibly, yeah. So companies these days are making cameras that are incredibly small, very, very small. Some are even smaller than a shirt button. That's the right answer because it's a big surprise how small the cameras are. Companies these days are making cameras that are partially small. That doesn't really work because that means they're not small, they're almost small. As you look at the word partially, not 100% small. Some are even smaller than a shirt button. But if it's smaller than a shirt button, it is 100% small. So 2 is no good. Companies these days are making cameras that are eagerly small, excited to be small. Some are even smaller than a shirt button. That's no good. companies these days are making cameras that are consequently small. So as a result of what? So that doesn't work. Some are even smaller than a shirt button. So 2, 3, and 4 don't work because they don't make sense. Hopefully you can do that. 16 minutes. Let's do a little more. One more sentence? Let's try to do one more, because we're actually doing a lot of vocabulary. That's actually 8 vocabulary words. And I don't want to do too much on one thing because your brain gets full. So let's do, that's Dave. That's Dave. Dave is my dog. And Dave hangs out and he speaks both Japanese and English. He's a very smart dog. Just going to turn on the air conditioner and then we're going to study a little more. So let's do number 3. We'll do sentence number 3. There are very few houses in the north part of Silver City. It is an area filled with factories and warehouses. So this area has many factories, many warehouses. There are very few houses. So we need a sentence that fits that. So let's do the vocabulary for this one. The first word is emergency. It's hard to make another word for emergency because it's like when there's a fire, when there's danger. It's not perfect, but it's the right idea. Because if you're in trouble, you call the police. Maybe ninjas are attacking me. That's an emergency. My house catches on fire. That's an emergency. Something really dangerous happens. I fall down and hurt my leg. It's an emergency. I need an ambulance. I need help. An earthquake. An earthquake has many emergencies. Is a big emergency. So let's just try to keep it very simple. An earthquake is a big emergency. An earthquake is very dangerous. So the situation when an earthquake happens is very dangerous for all the people in it. It causes many emergencies. An earthquake, actually, a house can fall down. It can start a fire. Cars can crash. You can get a tsunami or something like that. There are lots of things that happen. Those are all emergencies. So it's a very dangerous situation. So, this is an instant. I actually didn't say all the words. So I'll say all the words first. So the first one was emergency, instant, industrial, environmental. We just did emergency. Now we're going to do instant number 2. Instant means 1 second or super fast. We use it. It doesn't mean 1 second like on the clock. It means the feeling of suddenly. Actually, there's another good word. Suddenly something happens. So I was driving my car and in an instant, a cat ran into the road. I was driving my car and then suddenly, very quickly, a cat runs in front of the car. I was driving my car. And suddenly, very quickly, a cat ran into the road. I gotta make some space so that it stays sort of in the middle. It's easier to see. I was driving my car and suddenly, very quickly, a cat ran into the road. The next one, industrial. The easiest way to think of industrial is like business, companies, making things. So in the sentence, as soon as I saw factories, I was thinking, maybe Dave disagrees. Oh. He's in his bed. Oh, you can't see. He's in his bed in the corner. He doesn't get up. He just starts making noise. So I think of, when I hear factories, I think of businesses that make things. Big factory makes cars. Toyota has a factory where they make cars. Industrial is where you make things. So that's very important. So that's probably the right answer already, I'm going to guess. Tokyo has many businesses, but I don't think Tokyo makes a lot of things in Tokyo. I live close to Nagoya. Is an industrial city. Nagoya is a city where they make things. Okay? So Nagoya is an industrial city. So Nagoya has a port. Boats come in, they bring things from other countries. They take those things, they have factories, and in those factories, they make things. That's why I was thinking Toyota. Toyota is very close to Nagoya. All right, I have one more word. Get on the next page. Environmental. This is a word you probably know because the environment has become so important. Environmental is always in English books. They always talk about protecting the environment. We have to be environmentally conscious. Environmental, though, by itself is very difficult because it means about the environment. So, what's the best way to say this? Environmental. Usually, we use environmentally safe things. I think I'm going to make it again very simple. It's going to be about nature. One of the environmental problems in Japan. Oh, sorry about that. Let me fix that. Is using too much plastic. So Japan as a country uses too much plastic. That plastic gets thrown in the garbage. The garbage goes into sometimes the earth. Sometimes it gets sent to another country. The plastic stays forever. It becomes garbage that lasts a long time. That is an environmental problem. One of the problems Japan has is one of the problems Japan. Oh, there you go. I skipped a word. One of the nature problems Japan has is using too much plastic. That's okay. So if we go back to question number 3, there are very few houses in the north part of Silver City. It is an emergency area. An emergency area would be a place either with lots of dangerous things, so lots of earthquakes, or a place with many ambulances and many police stations and stuff like that, filled with factories and warehouses. So the factories and warehouses, I'm looking for something that's like business. There are very few houses in the north part of Silver City. It's a instant area filled with factories and warehouses. Well, instant means very fast, suddenly. So that doesn't make sense. There are very few houses in the north part of Silver City. It's an industrial area filled with factories and warehouse. Industrial means business or companies. Factories and warehouses are companies, connected to companies. So that's the right answer. There are very few houses in the north part of Silver City. It is an environmental area filled with factories and warehouses. Environmental doesn't work because filled with factories and warehouses means there's no nature. It could be if they were talking about an environmental problem. So the north part of Silver City has an environmental problem because of factories and warehouses. That would be a good sentence. But because it just says filled with factories and warehouses, that means it has to be industrial. It's an industrial area. So that's 30 minutes. That's a lot of vocabulary. That's 12 words to kind of study. If you're going to do the Eiken, you should try to learn all the words, but don't go crazy and try to learn from the dictionary and stuff. Try to make simple, fast sentences to help you remember the idea of the word will be very beneficial. So let's get down. We have the practical skill. So we have the picture up on the screen. Give a little space if I need to use that. Practical skills. So I'm going to read the paragraph. This is, you have 20 seconds to think about it. Today, practical skills such as using computers and speaking foreign languages are regarded as important. As a result, many schools are offering classes for these skills, and learning them gives students more opportunities to find jobs. However, some teachers say that students are losing interest in traditional subjects like math and history. Practical skills are useful, but studying traditional subjects is also important. So they're saying there are practical skills, like using a computer, like I am right now. Practical skills like speaking a language, like you're studying English right now. But there's also traditional things you learn in school, like history. Maybe history isn't so useful to getting a job. So that's what they're trying to separate. They're trying to make two things: skills that will help you get a job and skills that just make your brain work. Learning history will make your brain work harder. So your story should begin with the sentence. Here's the example. One day, Mr. Sato was asking something in English. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. One day, Mr. Sato was asked something in English by a customer at his bookstore. So if we look at the picture, what happens? You have Mr. Sato. He's in the bookstore. He's the worker. You have the customer. She's a foreign lady. He says, "I don't understand English." A few seconds later, one of the other staff comes and they're talking, very happy. So that's what we're seeing in the first two pictures. And then 1 week later, you have, there it says ABCD in the back, and may I, and there's a nice foreign looking teacher. He's wearing a yellow shirt. I don't like a yellow shirt. I'm sorry, I have to say that. You have Mr. Sato and some other students, and then you can see up in the corner, he's thinking about speaking to another foreign person. So this is going to be our story. So we have to start with one day. I have to do it properly. Sato was asked something in English by a customer at his bookstore. He apologized and said, "I don't understand English." Whoa, I even spelled English wrong. English. Then, in these stories, you're going to use then to connect first picture and second picture. That in these stories, you're going to use then to connect the pictures. So you have first picture, then the second picture, then the third picture. But in this one, you can see it says a few seconds later and 1 week later. You can use that as well. So you could say then or a few seconds later. Both of those are going to be okay. Mr. Sato's co-worker came and spoke to the customer in English. You could say a few seconds later, Mr. Sato's co-worker came and spoke to the customer in English, or Mr. Sato's Mr. We want to use. Sorry, I don't want to get too messy. Then Mr. Sato's co-worker helped the customer. Okay, so now we have another. Oh, let's get down there. One more picture, and it says 1 week later. 1 week later, Mr. Sato started taking English lessons. You could say then Mr. Sato started taking English lessons. And then we have, so that's him in the classroom. He's taking an English lesson. Up here in the bubble, though, we still want to talk about every part of the picture. So then Mr. Sato started taking English lessons. He wanted to help foreign customers in the future. He hoped he could help more customers in the future. Those are okay. I think that's pretty good. Can I say anything else? That's pretty good. So one day, Mr. Sato was asked something in English by a customer at his bookstore. Mr. Sato had to apologize. Mr. Sato had to say, "I don't understand English." A few seconds later, his coworker could help the customer in English. 1 week later, Mr. Sato started taking English lessons. He wanted to help customers in English in the future. All of those are okay. I've written one story here. I've given you another example that I've just said. And then we have some questions. Okay. Let's get on it. We'll do this and then we'll finish up. So, number 1, according to the passage, how does learning practical skills help students? I said at the beginning, it gives the students opportunities. In this case, it says more opportunities to find jobs. Oh, we did that question already. There's an example here too. I'll read it out loud. He said to the customer, "I don't understand English." A few seconds later, so they're using the sentence in the picture. A worker at the store talked to the customer in English for him. Mr. Sato felt a little embarrassed that he could not help the customer himself. 1 week later, Mr. Sato started attending an English language class. He hoped he would be able to speak with customers in English in the future. So that's the example answer from the Eiken company. Number 3, some people say that because of computers, people spend too much time alone. What do you think? So you can say yes or you can say no. So let's go with I agree. People spend too much time on computers and cell phones and tablets. I shouldn't make a new sentence. They spend all their time looking at screens, and young people don't know how to interact with other people in real life. So that would be, I agree that people spend too much time on computers. I agree. People spend too much time on computers and cell phones and tablets. They spend all their time looking at screens, and young people don't know how to interact with other people in real life. Let's look at their example answer. People don't have to talk to others while using computers. They should have more face-to-face communication with others. So same idea. Let's get down there. Shoo. Okay. But this time I disagree. Or I don't think so is what they use in there. I have a friend in Fukushima and a friend in Tokyo. With computers, I can talk to them every day. I interact more with people because of computers. If I couldn't use computers, I wouldn't have had any communication during the pandemic, during coronavirus. So I disagree. I have a friend in Fukushima and a friend in Tokyo. With computers, I can talk to them every day. I interact more with people because of computers. If I couldn't use computers, I wouldn't have had any communication during the pandemic, or I wouldn't have had any friends. Actually, I'll put it down. Wouldn't have had any friends during the pandemic. I would have been very lonely during the pandemic. Something like that. Okay. All right, and we have number 4, last one. I think, yeah. Today, many schools in Japan have stopped having classes on Saturdays. Do you think this is a good idea? So, agree. I agree. Students study too much and don't have enough free time. So, stopping Saturday classes is a good idea. Students feel a lot of stress. And they need time to relax. Is a pretty good answer. I disagree, or I don't think so. Students have to study a lot to get into university. Oh, I just looked at the other part of the screen and it's almost the same answer. I don't think so. Students have to study a lot to get into university. They need all the study time they can get. Ooh. Studying on Saturday will help them improve their test scores. Ooh. Okay, so let's read those answers. Today, many schools in Japan have stopped having classes on Saturdays. Do you think this is good for students? I agree. Students study too much and don't have enough free time, so stopping Saturday classes is a good idea. Students feel a lot of stress and they need time to relax. Today, many schools in Japan have stopped having classes on Saturdays. Do you think this is good for students? I don't think so. Students have to study a lot to get into university. They need all the study time they can get. Studying on Saturday will help them improve their test scores. I think students in Japan study too much. But since they have to study so much, they might as well come to Sounds Great English videos and learn Eiken studying with me. I'm going to stop there. I hope you have a really nice day.